At the moment of I do, she received a video that changed the course of her entire life. She had waited her whole life for this moment, but what fate had in store for her was the sound of a notification. Before we dive into the story, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our stories reach. Thank you for being here. The church was silent, a silence filled with held-back emotion, gentle sighs, and tears quietly resting in the corners of eyes. Isabella's veil floated in the breeze that slipped through the stained glass windows, and her white dress seemed to breathe with her, slowly, almost sacredly. The flowers, the choir, the eyes watching her. Everything felt like the dreams she'd had since she was a little girl, and there he was standing before her, Ethan, the man who had promised her forever. His smile was calm, his stance steady, the presence of someone who seemed ready to say, "I do," of someone who looked like he'd never said no to anything in his life. The priest spoke, their hands intertwined. It was the perfect moment, even the silence, until it wasn't. A brief, persistent vibration shattered the spell, like the crack of breaking glass. Isabella's phone, hidden between her bouquet and her veil, lit up. The screen blinked with an anonymous notification, a link, and a message. "You deserve to know who you're marrying." She blinked, confused, her heart stumbling. Ethan reached for her hand, but her eyes were already on the screen. She tapped. The video opened. The images appeared. The sound, muffled, echoed like a forbidden whisper. And within seconds, the altar became a minefield. Ethan's face, a hotel room, a woman's voice, a voice she knew all too well. Lara's voice. The bouquet slipped from her hands. Her breath sliced through the silence. His breath caught. The guests exchanged bewildered glances, and Isabella stood frozen, trapped between two worlds, the dream that hadn't yet ended, and the nightmare that had just begun. The priest stopped speaking. The choir fell silent. The only sound left was the echo of the video, still playing in her trembling hands. Isabella looked up, eyes brimming, face pale, lips parted. "This is what you were hiding from me," she whispered. Ethan tried to step closer, but her body pulled away. Her veil dragged across the floor. The silence turned into discomfort, the discomfort into shame, and the shame ignited rage. She turned her back. The church aisle, once a path of light, now felt like a tunnel of shame and stifled gasps. Each step she took echoed heavily, followed by camera flashes and hushed murmurs, and just before she reached the door, Isabella stopped, took a deep breath, and said, without looking back, "Thank you for the video. Now I truly know who I almost married." The church doors opened. The golden light of late afternoon poured in, and as she walked out, the choir, unsure of what to do, began to sing again, a hymn of love that now sounded like cruel irony. But to understand what was in that video and why it arrived at the exact moment of I do, we need to go back, 2 years earlier. The music was deafening, beats so intense they made the floor tremble, lights flickering like time itself was breathing in rhythm with the dance floor. It was one of those nights where no one's really searching for love, just distraction. But Isabella was there at her friend's insistence, wearing a dress that didn't quite match her shy nature, with a rehearsed smile to hide the tiredness in her eyes. She had promised she'd stay for just an hour. She wanted to dance a little, laugh a little, and for one night, forget the breakup that still stung. On the other side of the room, Ethan and Gabriel sipped their drinks slowly, two friends scanning the crowd like they were choosing a destination. They couldn't be more different. Ethan was the kind who filled a room effortlessly, confident, charming, with a well-practiced calm. Gabriel, on the other hand, was quiet, kind-eyed, the type who watches before he acts. It was Gabriel who noticed her first. "That one in the burgundy dress, doesn't she look out of place?" Ethan followed his friend's gaze. For a moment, all he saw was the flash of strobe lights across her face, attentive eyes, a gentle smile, a glass of water in her hand. "She's beautiful," Ethan said, not looking away. Gabriel chuckled, with the kind of innocence that still believes in good intentions. "I'm going to try talking to her." He set his glass on the bar and crossed the floor. Ethan stayed behind, watching with curiosity. Gabriel's cautious steps, the respectful way he approached, the way Isabella smiled, that small, unsure smile of someone who's hesitant but wants to believe again. For a few minutes, it seemed to work. They laughed, exchanged shy words, the mood light and easy, until Ethan stood up, adjusted his watch, and followed. No one noticed the exact moment he arrived, but the energy shifted. Ethan had that effect, the ability to pull everything into his orbit. "I'm Ethan," he said, extending a hand, smile sharp and practiced. Isabella took it, a little awkwardly. "Isabella. Gabriel told me about you." She glanced at Gabriel, who looked away, visibly uncomfortable. Ethan went on. "Hope he said nice things." "He did," she laughed. "Said I looked out of place." "He was right," Ethan replied, leaning in slightly. "But that's a compliment." "The right place is rarely the loudest one," she smiled. And in that moment Gabriel knew he had already lost. The night went on, full of music, drinks, and shifting lights. Ethan moved with ease, spoke with conviction. Everything about him seemed designed to captivate. Isabella felt pulled in, as if the sound, the light, and the heat of the night had conspired for that meeting to happen. From a distance, Gabriel watched silently. He saw the way Ethan placed his hand on her waist, the way she laughed, unaware of how deep she was falling, and how, by the end of the night, the two of them left together. He remained there, empty glass in hand, watching the couple disappear between the cars, knowing, without yet understanding why, that he had just witnessed the beginning of a tragedy. The days that followed were filled with exchanged messages, quick meetups, coffee dates, and laughter. Ethan was attentive, always present, always knowing just the right thing to say. Isabella felt seen. He remembered the kind of wine she liked, the name of the street she lived on, the perfume she wore. It was as if he had studied her before they ever met. But now and then something slipped through. Little things, minor lapses she noticed but chose to ignore. Like on their third date when she mentioned that Gabriel seemed like a great friend, and Ethan replied curtly, "Gabriel's fine, but sometimes he forgets his place." Or when the waiter brought the bill and Ethan insisted on paying, not out of kindness, but with authority. "Don't worry, I insist." It didn't feel like a gesture. It felt like a command. And still, she smiled. Because it's easy to mistake control for confidence, and hard to notice when admiration turns into surrender. Weeks passed. Ethan became a constant presence, his gestures balancing sweetness and dominance. He always seemed to know what she was about to say, like he was one step ahead in every conversation. Gabriel, on the other hand, began to pull away. His messages slowed down, and when Isabella asked about it, Ethan answered with a tight-lipped smile. He doesn't handle it well when someone else gets what he wants. It felt odd, but she believed him. Because in the beginning, love always sounds like a good excuse. One night, Ethan took Isabella to the top of a hill overlooking the entire city. The lights twinkled below, and the wind played with her hair. He held her by the waist and said, "I knew that night. You were going to be mine." She smiled. "And Gabriel?" Ethan laughed, eyes fixed on the horizon. "He'll get over it. He always does. But no one really gets over losing what they love." And what Ethan called love was simply the desire to possess. In the months that followed, Isabella and Ethan settled into a comfortable rhythm. They saw each other almost daily. Dinners, sleepovers on weekends, good-night texts. He knew her breakfast order, her driving playlist, the scent she wore on rainy days. Their lives became so entwined that gradually there was less room for anything else. Isabella, once deeply connected to her friends, began declining invites without realizing it. At first, the excuses were simple. Too tired, too busy, not enough time. But really, it always came down to one softly spoken sentence, tinged with guilt. "Stay with me tonight. We barely see each other." Ethan never demanded. He persuaded. He knew how to speak with just the right tone to make desire sound like care, to make control feel like love. To her, it felt like devotion. But to anyone watching from the outside, a different picture emerged. One of a man subtly replacing someone else's will with his own. Gabriel still appeared now and then, always kind, always polite. But Ethan made it clear, between the lines, that he didn't approve. He never said it outright, just let small, calculated phrases slip into conversation like diluted drops of poison. "I don't know. He seems a little too invested in you. No man's ever just a friend." Isabella would defend Gabriel, only to find herself trying to reassure Ethan afterward. Deep down, she began choosing her words more carefully, the beginning of self-censorship disguised as affection. One evening, over dinner, Ethan let something slip that made her pause. They were talking about fidelity. The topic came up casually, sparked by gossip about another couple. He said, "No one's faithful all the time. What matters is not letting the other person find out." Isabella laughed, thinking he was joking, but his expression never changed. The laughter faded and the conversation moved on. She didn't want to hold on to it. But the sentence stuck like a hairline crack in glass, small, invisible, but growing. Time went on, and Lara entered the story almost naturally. She had been a close friend of Isabella's since college, a vibrant presence, loud, quick to laugh, full of life. When she met Ethan, she was friendly, maybe a little too friendly. But Isabella found it comforting, the idea that the man she loved and the friend she trusted most could share the same space. Their early hangouts as a trio were enjoyable: dinners, card games, wine nights. Lara made clever remarks, Ethan replied with dry wit, and Isabella laughed, feeling lucky to be surrounded by two people she cared for so deeply. But over time, something shifted. Glances exchanged that meant nothing, or maybe too much. Conversations that stopped when Isabella entered the room. Inside jokes she wasn't part of, nothing she could point to, but just enough to make her uneasy. One day she came home earlier than usual. Lara's car was parked out front, and the door was slightly ajar. She stepped inside, calling out for Ethan, and heard laughter coming from the kitchen. When she reached the doorway, she found them both shirtless, laughing at something she couldn't quite grasp. The scene alone was enough to shake anyone's trust. But Ethan's reaction was swift, almost rehearsed. "Isabella, perfect timing. Lara spilled wine on her blouse, so I gave her one of my shirts." Lara, visibly awkward, confirmed the story with a forced smile. The floor was still wet. The scent of wine lingered in the air. Isabella stood there for a moment, observing. Everything in her wanted to doubt, but Ethan's voice had that disarming confidence. "Do you really think I'd do something like that? In your home?" She said no with a smile that never reached her eyes, and like someone trying to erase a thought, she kissed him quickly and went upstairs. Later that night, after Lara had left, Isabella watched through the window. She saw Ethan walk her to her car, waiting until she drove off. There was a lightness to his posture, an ease that didn't exist when they were alone. She closed the curtain and went to bed with a discomfort she still couldn't name. The next day, Ethan showed up with flowers. He said he wanted to make up for the tension from the night before. She accepted them, as always, and tried to believe it was just her insecurity. But little by little, that insecurity became routine. Unanswered texts, cancelled plans, explanations that were too long for such simple things. When she questioned him, he would laugh, kiss her forehead and say, "You need to trust me more. Love can't survive without trust." Isabella believed him. And those watching from the outside could already tell. She was being slowly trained to doubt herself. Around that time, Gabriel tried to reach out. He sent a discreet message asking if she was okay, if Ethan was treating her well. She replied coldly, feeling guilty for even entertaining suspicion. Ethan saw Gabriel's name on her phone and simply remarked, "You two still talk. Weird how persistent he is, almost like he's in love with you." That was the last time she responded to Gabriel, and without knowing it, his absence would mark the beginning of the end for them all. The following weeks appeared normal from the outside. Isabella went to work, spent time with Ethan, had dinners with Lara. Life had that quiet glow of a routine that seemed to be on track. But what held everything together wasn't peace, it was habit. Ethan and Lara's relationship became a natural extension of her life. Lara would drop by unannounced, bringing wine, asking for advice about men, staying for dinner. Isabella found the closeness between them curious, but convenient. After all, Lara was always around when she had to work late. It felt like companionship. Over time, Lara's visits became more frequent. She began acting with the kind of intimacy that only time grants, opening the fridge, changing the TV channel, napping on the couch. Isabella found it strange, but accepted it. Ethan would say it was nice having someone so cheerful around. "She's good for the house, don't you think? You're always so serious, love. Lara brings lightness." Isabella didn't know how to respond. And that's how suspicion began to coexist with affection, a fragile balance common in marriages that haven't begun, but already feel like a trap. One Saturday afternoon, she came home early from a photo shoot. Laughter echoed from the living room. She walked in quietly, not wanting to interrupt, and saw Lara sitting on the floor wearing Ethan's shirt. He stood shirtless, painting one of the walls white. Lara held the paint roller, smudged and laughing loudly. When they noticed her, Ethan looked up, surprised but composed. "Well, so much for the surprise project," he said with a grin. Lara echoed the smile, hands covered in paint. "We wanted to finish the wall before you got home. He's terrible at painting." Paint splattered the floor. A bottle of wine was open on the table. The radio was playing. It was a scene far too casual for the discomfort she felt. Ethan came over, kissed her cheek, and added, "Don't look at me like that, love." She just stained her blouse again, so I lent her a shirt. No big deal. Isabella looked at Lara, then at him, and simply said, "Of course. That makes sense." She went upstairs without another word. Their laughter drifted up behind her, echoing like a reminder. The following Sunday, Ethan said he had to leave early for a meeting. Isabella slept in, then wandered into the living room and saw his coat tossed over the armchair. His phone buzzed in the pocket. She didn't want to look. But curiosity spoke louder than caution. One short message flashed on the screen. "Can't tomorrow, she'll be home." No name, no number. She stood there for a few seconds, staring at the words until the screen went dark. She slipped the phone back into the coat pocket and spent the rest of the day pretending nothing had happened. That night, when Ethan returned, she asked how the meeting had gone. He told a long, detailed story, confident, filled with just enough precision to sound real. As he spoke, he poured wine, complimented her cooking, smiled easily. There was no trace of nervousness in him, and it was that ease that confused her the most. Isabella watched him differently now, searching for cracks in the face she knew so well. But everything remained the same. His calm gaze, his gentle voice, the way his hand held hers. It seemed almost impossible to imagine a lie in that face, and yet she could feel the weight of a truth beginning to take shape all on its own. The following week, she ran into Gabriel by chance at a cafe. He was quieter than usual, but still had that same kindness in his eyes. They chatted briefly about work, about life, until he asked, "Are you happy?" The question came softly, without judgment, but the answer took too long to form. "I think so." Gabriel nodded with a faint smile. Before leaving, he added, "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" She thanked him, and for a moment, she wanted to tell him everything, but held back, perhaps afraid of hearing what she already knew. The months that followed were a string of quiet contradictions. Ethan was gone more often, always with well-prepared reasons. Trips, meetings, client visits. Lara showed up more and more, sometimes with vague excuses. When the three were together, something felt off, but no one ever said it out loud. It was as if they had all silently agreed not to acknowledge the thin line between affection and betrayal. One night, Isabella called Ethan and heard female laughter in the background. He said he was with co-workers, but the voice that laughed sounded far too familiar. She hung up before the tremble in her voice could give her away, and spent the rest of the evening trying to convince herself it was all coincidence. A few weeks later, Ethan decided to host a dinner for some friends. Lara arrived early to help in the kitchen. Isabella came home from work and found the two of them dancing in the middle of the living room, laughing over something on a phone screen. They stopped the moment they saw her. "She was teaching me new steps for our first dance at the wedding," Ethan said, grinning. Lara chimed in, waving flower-covered hands. "We were just messing around, Belle. Don't worry." Their casualness left her speechless. And that's how she began to doubt her own perception, because every time she saw something, there was an explanation. Every time she felt uneasy, there came a gesture so tender, it erased any certainty. Soon after, the proposal came. It was during a simple dinner under low light with his usual confident smile. Ethan knelt, spoke perfect words, made well-rehearsed promises. She said yes. The restaurant erupted in applause. Lara cried with emotion, and Gabriel, who heard the news days later, disappeared completely. That night, lying beside Ethan, Isabella thought about all the times she'd doubted him and felt foolish. Love, she believed, had finally defeated fear. But in truth, fear had only learned how to wear a better disguise. The final weeks before the wedding passed in a whirlwind of planning and anticipation. Isabella threw herself into it all with the devotion of someone who believed every detail could be a love letter, as if crafting the perfect event might protect her from anything going wrong. She spent hours choosing flowers, finalizing invitations, trying on dresses. It felt like perfection could be her shield. Ethan was less involved than he had promised, but always had reasonable explanations. Work, meetings, last-minute decisions. He would show up with his usual smile, compliment her efforts, make plans for the honeymoon. Isabella didn't complain. She thought it was the natural cost of adult life, love shared with routine. Lara, meanwhile, was always around. She helped with dress fittings, food tastings, venue tours. They laughed together, took photos, made plans for the big day. At times, Isabella caught herself watching Lara and Ethan from a distance. The gestures, the private jokes, the synchronized laughter, and felt a brief sting of jealousy. But she quickly silenced the thought. How could she suspect the friend she loved the most? It was almost impossible to believe anything was wrong when everyone around her seemed so incredibly happy. 2 days before the wedding, Gabriel reappeared. He called late at night, his voice shaky, asking to see her just for a few minutes. Isabella hesitated. They hadn't spoken in months, but something in his tone moved her. They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near her studio. When she arrived, he was already there, leaning over a cup of cold coffee. His eyes looked tired, the dark circles beneath them deep and worn. She smiled, trying to soften the tension. "Gabriel, it's been a while." He looked up, and her smile faded. There was a weight in his gaze, an urgency. "I'm sorry to reach out like this. I know it's your moment. I can't stay silent anymore." She furrowed her brow, confused. "Silent about what?" He hesitated, looked around, as if searching for courage. "Isabella, I tried to warn you before, but you trusted him so much. I didn't want to be the bitter guy who ruins someone else's happiness." "Gabriel, what are you talking about?" The pause that followed stretched too long. He took a deep breath. "Ethan's not who you think he is. I know you won't believe me now. So when the time is right, you'll see for yourself." Isabella let out a nervous laugh. "You're being unfair. He's a good man. He's the man I love." "I know. That's why I'm telling you this." The silence between them was sharp. Gabriel finished his coffee in one long sip, stood up and said only, "I'll prove it to you. Not now, but it will get to you. And when it does, remember I tried to do what was right." He left before she could respond. That night, Isabella could hardly sleep. Gabriel's words echoed in her mind like scattered voices. She tried to push the thoughts away, but they kept returning. For a moment she thought about confronting Ethan, but let the thought go. It would be absurd to bring up a vague suspicion born from an even vaguer conversation. In the morning, Ethan arrived with flowers and croissants. "My love, did you sleep well? Tomorrow's the big day." She smiled, hiding her exhaustion, and he, with that disarming charm, added, "Promise me you won't worry about anything. Just focus on being happy. I'll take care of everything." She nodded, and she believed him. That afternoon, Lara arrived to help with the final dress fittings. They laughed, cried, reminisced about college days. Lara spoke with excitement about the future, the new house, the couple's plans. Isabella felt deeply moved by her friend's generosity, her presence through it all. When Lara's phone rang, she stepped out of the room to take the call. The door stayed slightly ajar. Isabella heard her voice, low, urgent, though she couldn't make out the words. Then silence. Lara returned a few minutes later, smiling. "Sorry, work call." And once again, Isabella believed her. That night, Ethan said he had to sort out a last-minute issue with the florist. He kissed her forehead and promised he'd be back soon. She offered to go with him, but he insisted she stay and rest. "Tomorrow will be a long day. I want you radiant, well-rested. Don't worry." She waited until midnight, then fell asleep. She didn't know that at that exact hour on the other side of the city, Gabriel was sending her a message with a video attached. "I'm sorry, Belle, but you need to see this." By morning, the video was still there, unopened, waiting silently in her inbox. Sunlight spilled through the window. The white dress hung on its hook. The flowers had already been delivered. Isabella woke up smiling. It was her wedding day, the day she had long believed would mark the beginning of everything. And across the city, Ethan was still asleep, not at home but in a hotel room, with Lara beside him. The phone camera, quietly placed on the dresser, had captured everything. And Gabriel, watching the footage through the window, felt the same knot in his throat, the one that comes with doing the right thing, knowing it will break someone forever. Isabella arrived at the church radiant, her veil floating, her heart racing. She greeted guests, laughed nervously with Lara, who avoided meeting her eyes for too long. Ethan looked flawless. Nothing about him betrayed the man from the night before. The ceremony began, the music, the gazes, the altar. And then, as the priest asked if she would take this man as her husband, her phone vibrated softly within the bouquet. The screen lit up. The video began to play. And once again, time stopped. But what no one knew was that, in that church, it wasn't fate that betrayed her. It was the truth, late as always, that finally arrived. The church was full. White flowers cascaded in tall arrangements. The choir rehearsed a gentle melody, and the air held the scent of perfume mixed with melting wax. There were restless children, whispered conversations, and guests already wiping away tears before the ceremony had even started. Everything looked perfect, like the living photograph of a carefully constructed dream. Isabella walked down the aisle slowly, the sound of her dress brushing the floor, her eyes brimming, not with sorrow but with pure emotion. For a moment it felt like time was reassuring her. All the fear, all the doubt, everything she had endured and suppressed over the past 2 years was now transforming into beauty. Each step seemed to say, "It's okay. You made it." Ethan, upon seeing her, adjusted his jacket and smiled, that calm smile of someone who knows they're admired. On the outside, he was the perfect image of a man in love, but inside, only he knew the weight of the performance. Lara, seated among the bridesmaids, kept her eyes fixed on the tip of Isabella's veil, avoiding her gaze. Her face was expressionless, her body tense. No one noticed the way her hands twisted nervously in her lap. The priest began the ceremony. Words about love, fidelity, and trust echoed through the stained glass light. Isabella barely heard them. Her heart beat too loud. She looked at Ethan and felt a strange relief, as if she were finally where she was always meant to be. But between vows, a soft vibration hummed inside the bouquet, subtle, almost imperceptible, but just enough to shatter the spell. She blinked, glanced down, hesitated. Ethan noticed. He whispered quickly, "Not now, love." But curiosity is merciless, especially when tangled with the fear of being wrong. Her hand moved on its own. Her thumb brushed the screen. The notification read, "A video for you, G." For a second, she didn't understand. Then she tapped the link. The video opened. Shaky footage, muffled sound, a dimly lit room illuminated only by a sliver of window light. And in seconds, Ethan's face appeared, recognizable, undeniable. Her breath caught. The video kept playing, his voice, his laugh, his body, and a woman. Lara. There was no room for doubt. Time collapsed inside her, as if every happy hour from the past 2 years imploded all at once. The bouquet slipped from her hands, the flowers scattered across the floor with a dry thud that echoed through the altar. The choir stopped singing. Guests looked at each other, confused. No one knew what was happening, but everyone felt the air shift, dense, heavy, unbearable. Ethan tried to step toward her, reached out his hand, but she backed away. Her gaze, once soft, had turned to glass. She trembled, not from rage, but disbelief. "Isabella." "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice breaking for the first time. She stared at him, eyes glistening. Smile vanished. "What's wrong?" she repeated softly, trembling. "You, her, all of this." The guests began whispering. Some rose quietly, others pretended not to notice. Lara stood, trying to approach, but Isabella raised a hand, stopping her cold. "Don't you dare," she said, steady. "Not one step." The silence was nearly physical. The priest stood frozen, unsure whether to continue or walk away. Ethan mumbled something incoherent, grasping at control. "Love, I can explain." "It was before it was a mistake. It has nothing to do with us." Isabella stepped forward. Her voice was calm but cut like a blade. "Nothing to do with us? Then why is it happening right now, on the day we were supposed to get married?" She held the phone tightly, her hands shaking. "You stole even my right to doubt. Every time I questioned you, you convinced me to stay quiet, and now I know why." Ethan tried to close the distance again. She stepped back. Her veil slipped from her hair and landed on the altar steps. Stripped of the symbol of purity, she stood as the perfect portrait of an ending. "You cheated on me with my best friend, and still had the audacity to vow your love to me before God." Her voice echoed through the hall, sharp, steady, and filled with pain. Lara began to cry, whispering apologies, but Isabella didn't look at her. Her gaze stayed locked on Ethan, that gaze of someone who realizes love didn't die. Respect did. She inhaled deeply, lowered the phone, and in a near whisper said, "You know what's most cruel? I still loved you as when I pressed play." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some guests stood, others discreetly recorded. Ethan, pale and wordless, searched the room for a way out. Isabella turned her back. She walked slowly down the aisle, her dress heavier with every step. The scattered flowers, the hushed voices, the camera flashes, it all melted into a distant, underwater hum. At the door she paused, looked back. Her eyes found Gabriel standing at the back of the church, silent. For a moment their eyes met, and she understood. There was no revenge in his act, only truth. And for the first time, she didn't feel anger. She felt relief. "Thank you," she mouthed, barely audible. Then she turned and stepped outside. The church doors closed behind her. The choir resumed by mistake. An awkward attempt to restore normalcy. But nothing would ever be normal again. Isabella walked through the street still in her gown, the torn veil lifting in the wind, the sun setting on the horizon. People stared, some with pity, others with curiosity. She didn't cry. Not yet. She felt empty, like someone who first needs to understand the size of the hole before figuring out how to fill it. In her dress pocket, the phone vibrated. Another message from Gabriel. "You didn't deserve this, but now at least you're free." She read it, took a deep breath, and replied, "Thank you for waking me up." And she kept walking without looking back. Some betrayals hurt more for the lies than the act itself. Ethan destroyed love. Lara destroyed friendship. But Isabella, she learned how to survive the end of both. The morning rose in silence. The windows of Isabella's small apartment were open, but the air inside was still, thick, unmoving. Her dress hung over a chair, stained with dust and wine. The veil, crumpled, lay on the floor, a memory no one dared to fold. She hadn't slept. She spent the night on the couch, hands clasped, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Missed calls, messages, news alerts. The whole city seemed to wake before she did, to comment on what had happened. At the top of the screen, a message from Ethan. "I need to see you. I can explain. Please." She read it over and over before switching off the phone. There was no explanation that could fit inside the silence of that home. Around noon, someone knocked. 3 short, hesitant taps. She thought of ignoring it, but the sound insisted. She rose slowly, barefoot, face swollen. When she opened the door, she found Lara, sunglasses on, hair tied back, hands trembling. "Belle," her voice came out small, almost childlike. "Can I come in?" Isabella stood still. For a moment, time stretched between them. Lara's face, once so familiar, now looked like a stranger's. After a few seconds, Isabella stepped aside. Lara entered and sat on the couch, hunched, eyes red. She began speaking quickly, rushing her words, crying between phrases. She said it was a mistake, that she didn't know how it happened, that Ethan was manipulative, that it all started innocently. Isabella listened in silence. No tears, no reaction. Just a steady, distant gaze. When Lara finished, Isabella asked, "How many times?" Silence, the cruelest answer of all. Lara lowered her head, hands covering her face. "I swear, Belle, I tried to stop." "But you didn't," Isabella cut in, voice firm. "And he didn't betray me alone. You were there, always were." Lara sobbed louder, begging for forgiveness. But Isabella stood up and pointed to the door. "Leave. I don't want to hate you, but I never want to hear your voice again." Lara hesitated, crying, and left. The door closed slowly, and the sound of the latch felt like the end of an era. Later that afternoon, Ethan arrived. He didn't knock. He still had a key. His face looked drained, yesterday's suit wrinkled. In his hands, a bouquet of flowers. Ironic, misplaced, as if he still believed something could be saved. Isabella was in the kitchen, her back turned. He approached carefully, searching for words that might sound sincere. "I messed up. I know I did. But you have to understand. I love you. What happened, it doesn't change how I feel." She didn't turn. She was washing her hands slowly, as if trying to remove a scent that wouldn't leave. "It has nothing to do with me?" she asked, still not facing him. "Then why did it happen while I still believed in you? Why lie for months?" Ethan set the flowers on the table, his voice tight, almost desperate. "I was going to end it, I swear. But I couldn't. I'm weak. I didn't want to lose you." Isabella turned to him, her face calm. But her eyes held a hardness he had never seen. "You didn't want to lose me, but you lost me in every way possible. And what's left of me now, you no longer deserve to know." He tried to get closer, but she stepped back. "Leave, Ethan. The love I had for you died at the altar, and you were the one who killed it." He paused, eyes wet, but she didn't flinch. Slowly he left, closing the door behind him. The next hours were silent. Isabella walked through the house, gathering the remnants of what she thought was her life. The photos, the notes, the gifts, the flowers he brought. She placed it all in a box and carried it to the balcony. The wind was strong, the sky beginning to darken. She struck a match. The fire spread quickly, casting her face in orange and shadow. She watched without tears. Those would come later, when no one was watching. That night, she went to the beach. The sea was calm, its waves mixing with the distant noise of the city. She walked to the edge, bare feet touching the cold water, a simple dress clinging to her body. There, alone, Isabella finally allowed herself to cry, not for the wedding that never happened, nor for the betrayal, but for everything she had to believe in order not to see what had always been right in front of her. She cried until her body gave out, and when silence returned, she took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "It's over." This time, the word didn't sound like loss. It sounded like freedom. Days later, Isabella began to rebuild herself. She returned the ring, sold the dress, changed her haircut. Little by little, the mirror started to show her a familiar face again. Not the betrayed bride, but a woman who had survived. Gabriel reached out just once. They met at a cafe just like the first time. He didn't say much, only asked, "Do you hate me?" Isabella paused before replying, "No, I hate you for being right, and I thank you for not staying silent." He smiled. So did she. But between them lingered the kind of silence that needs no explanation. They never saw each other again after that. Some loves end at the altar. Others end before they even begin. But the ones that end inside us, those take the longest to leave. Time passed like a slow tide. Isabella and Gabriel began seeing each other more often. It started with casual meetups, long coffees, shy laughter. Then came dinners, walks, and conversations that stretched deep into the night. There were no promises, no rush. It was a love growing at the right pace, the pace of those who've learned the cost of haste. Gabriel was different. He didn't talk about forever. He talked about now. He didn't tell her what she should feel. He simply listened. For the first time in a long time, Isabella didn't have to filter her words. His presence was enough. It was a Friday night when they decided to go out for dinner, a new restaurant, dim lighting, soft music. They arrived laughing, holding hands, their energy light and effortless. Isabella wore a simple dress, her hair down. Gabriel wore an open collar and the peaceful look of a man exactly where he wanted to be. The waiter led them to a quiet table in the corner. They talked about plans, travel, photography. She shared her excitement about a new project. He listened with quiet admiration. For a few minutes, everything felt still, until Isabella looked up and froze. Just a few tables away, Ethan and Lara. Familiar faces, now distorted by time and guilt. Her breath caught. Ethan met her eyes almost instantly. His smile vanished. Time paused. The waiter served drinks. The pianist kept playing. But the world held its breath. Gabriel noticed the shift in her expression. He followed her gaze and understood. "Do you want to leave?" he whispered. "No, not this time." Ethan stood. His movement drew glances from nearby tables. Lara tried to grab his arm, whispering something Isabella couldn't hear. But he pulled away and walked toward them. Each step made her heart pound. But she held her posture, back straight, breath steady. Gabriel remained at her side, silent. Ethan stopped at their table. His face was tense, his eyes burning. "So this is it?" he asked in a low, firm voice. "You and him now?" Isabella blinked slowly. His voice still had that tone, the one that used to make her fold. But now, it sounded different, weaker, out of place. "Good evening, Ethan," she replied, calm. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to see you with him." He glanced at Gabriel with disdain. "Funny. The wedding barely ended and you already found someone to replace me." A few heads turned. The air grew thicker with every word. Gabriel stayed silent, his fists subtly clenched under the table. "You don't have that right," Isabella said, her voice steady. "Not after what you did. You don't get to speak to me like that." Ethan gave a crooked, cynical smile, one she knew too well. "I made a mistake, I admitted that. But seeing you with him, my best friend..." Gabriel finally looked up. "Ex-friend," he said quietly. The air tensed. Ethan stepped closer, too close. You got in the middle of something that wasn't yours, Gabriel. This was between me and her. Gabriel remained calm. No, this was between you and the lies you told. Lara sat frozen at their table, trying to disappear. The room buzzed with whispers. The waiter lingered nearby, unsure if he should step in. Isabella took a deep breath. She stood slowly. The sound of the chair scraping the floor cut through the room. That's enough, Ethan. It's over. I don't owe you anything. No, you owe me an explanation. His voice now louder, desperate. You should have stayed. You should have heard me out. Stayed for what? She replied, unwavering. To keep believing your excuses? You destroyed everything between us, and the worst part is, you still think you own me. Silence fell. Ethan stared at her. The kind of stare of someone who, for the first time, realizes he lost something he will never get back. Isabella turned to Gabriel, took his hand and said only, "Let's go." Before leaving, she looked once more at Lara. Their eyes met. There was no hatred, only tired compassion. Lara lowered her gaze, unable to bear the weight of her own remorse. Outside, the cool night air felt like a cleanse. Isabella exhaled deeply, as if releasing something that had been trapped inside her for far too long. Gabriel walked beside her in silence. After a few steps, she spoke, not looking at him. If this had happened before, I think I would have cried. And now, he asked, now I just feel pity and gratitude. Gratitude? She nodded, smiling gently. If none of it had happened, I never would have found myself, and I never would have found you. Gabriel stopped, looked at her and smiled. He said nothing. He didn't have to. She took his hand and they kept walking. The city lights reflected in glass windows, the sound of the night guiding their steps. Isabella looked up at the sky, and for the first time in a long time, felt light. Not because she forgot the past, but because it no longer weighed on her. Some reunions aren't meant to reopen wounds. They exist to prove that the wounds have healed. Some stories don't end when we close the door. They linger, tucked away in the corners of memory, reminding us who we were and who we'll never be again. Isabella moved forward like we all do, one step at a time. And maybe, in some way, this story is about you too, about that moment you had to start over after a love that didn't work out. Because the truth is, we've all had an Ethan who lied, a Lara who let us down, or a Gabriel who showed up just when everything seemed lost. Love changes, it transforms, sometimes it hurts, but it always finds a way back, even if it's just peace within ourselves. Now tell me, where are you watching this story from? I want to know how far Isabella's voice has reached, because somewhere out there might be another woman listening, realizing that her ending can also be a new beginning.